The broadcast of the regular meeting of the Heritage Preservation Commission will now begin.
Good afternoon. Welcome to this live broadcast of our virtual meeting for the July 14th, 2020 regular meeting of the Minneapolis Heritage Preservation Commission. This meeting includes the remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021 due to the declared local health pandemic. For the record, my name is Madeline Sundberg and I serve as chair of the Minneapolis Heritage Preservation Commission. I will now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll so we may verify the presence of a quorum.
Bjornberg.
Present.
Fritz.
Present.
Howard.
Present.
Kling.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Mack.
Present.
Sambolt.
Present.
Stady.
Present.
Sundberg.
Present.
Vandereyk.
Here.
That's 10 members. Thank you.
Thank you. Let the record reflect we do have quorum. With that, we will proceed to our agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's Legislative Information Management System, which is available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. Our first order of business is to adopt the agenda for this meeting. We will work from the agendas that are available online. I will go through the agenda and sort out what items will be continued to a future meeting, what items will be discussed, and what items will be put on the consent agenda to be approved as recommended by staff and without further discussion. So, item number 4 is 418 3rd Avenue North, Ward 3, Certificate of Appropriateness. This is recommended for the consent agenda unless someone wants to speak in opposition to or modify the staff recommendations. Are there any members of the commission who wish to pull this item off of the consent agenda? Are there any members of the public who have called in at this time who wish to pull item number 4 off of the consent agenda? I don't see any at this time. Item number 5 is the Milwaukee Road Depot, 300 Washington Avenue South, Ward 3. This is the Certificate of Appropriateness, and that is going to be continued to the September 15th meeting. And item number 6, timber at 110 3rd Avenue North, Ward 3, will be discussed. So again, the proposed agenda is item number 4, 418 3rd Avenue North, Ward 3, will be on the consent agenda. Again, is there any members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to that item? If so, please press *6 and let me know that you're calling in to speak in opposition. Don't see any at this time. Item number 5, the Milwaukee Road Depot, 300 Washington Avenue South, will be continued to September 15th meeting. And item number 6, timber at 110 3rd Avenue North, will have a staff presentation and commission discussion. Commissioners, may I have a motion to approve the proposed agenda?
So moved. This is Howard.
Thank you, Commissioner Howard. Is there a second?
Second, Fritz.
Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on that motion.
Bjornberg.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mack.
Aye.
Sandbolt.
Aye.
Stady.
Aye.
Sundberg.
Aye.
Vandereyk.
Aye.
That's 10 yeas. Thank you.
Thank you. The agenda is approved. Our next order of business will be to approve the minutes from our June 23rd, 2020 meeting. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So
Blank moves.
Oh, that was too many at once. I'll give that to Commissioner Kling. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
I'll give that to Commissioner Sandal. Thank you. With that, I will ask the clerk to call a roll on the motion.
Bjornberg,
Aye.
Fritz,
Abstain.
thank you. Howard,
Aye.
Kling,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Sandbolt,
Aye.
Stady,
Aye.
Sundberg,
Aye.
Vanderenk.
Aye.
That's 9 yeas. Thank you.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. Before I open the hearing to public comments, let me summarize the process for conducting the public hearing in this virtual format. The process for the public hearing is as follows. First, we will act on any items that will be continued. Then we will act on the consent agenda we just set. Once items on the consent agenda are approved, the commission is done with those items and the applicants may contact planning staff tomorrow about next steps. After the consent agenda items are approved, we will take each remaining agenda item in order. First, the planning staff will present its report and the commissioners may ask questions of staff. Then we will hear from the applicant and the commissioners may ask questions of the applicant. After that, I will open the public hearing and we'll invite public comment. We'll be taking speakers in the order they're pre-registered. After your name is called, if you could state your name and address for the record, and then proceed with your comments. After we complete the list of any pre-registered speakers, we'll see if there are any other speakers in the queue who may have called in. And in order to activate your microphones, you'll need to press *6 on your phone. So again, we'll take the list of pre-registered speakers and then open the floor to any other speakers in the queue. After the public comments are complete, I'll close the hearing and commissioners will deliberate on the application before us. Okay, so the first item then is item 5, Milwaukee Road Depot, 300 Washington Avenue South. Do I have a motion to continue this to the September 15th meeting?
So moved. Mack.
Thank you, Commissioner Mack. Is there a second?
Bjornberg seconds.
Thank you, Commissioner Bjornberg. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, if I could ask the clerk to call the roll on that motion.
Bjornberg,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Kling,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Sandbolt,
Aye. Aye.
Stady,
Aye.
Vanderenk,
Aye.
Sundberg.
Aye.
That's 10 yeas.
Thank you. That motion passes. So the Milwaukee Depot is continued to September 15th. Next, I will open the public hearing on the consent agenda items. Again, is there any opposition to staff recommendations for these items? This would be item number 4, 418 3rd Avenue North. Any commissioners who wish to speak against this item or members of the public, please press *6. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on the consent agenda items. Commissioners, may I have a motion to approve staff findings and recommendations for these items?
Stady so moves.
Thank you, Commissioner Stady. Is there a second?
Bjornberg seconds.
Thank you, Commissioner Bjornberg. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Bjornberg,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Kling,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Sampolt,
Aye.
Stady,
Aye.
Vanderenk,
Aye.
Sundberg.
Aye.
That's 10 yeas.
Thank you. That motion passes. So item 418, 3rd Avenue North is approved as recommended by staff on the agenda. The applicant for that item may contact planning staff tomorrow about next steps. Okay, our first discussion item is item number 6, timber at 110 3rd Avenue North, Ward 3, and the staff report will be by Sheila Vemmer.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Madam Commissioner. Madam Chairperson, my apologies. My name is Sheila Vemmer. I am a senior city planner with the Historic Preservation section of CPED. I'm here to present a discussion item for preliminary review for 110 3rd Avenue North. Some of you may remember this project came through last year as timber. It was a condo project. The applicants have changed or pivoted, I believe is the word, and are now going to present their proposal for a 7-floor, 8-story building in the Warehouse Historic District. Next slide, please. Next slide. This is, the project is currently on a vacant lot at the corner, southwest corner of 1st Avenue North and 3rd Avenue North. This is in the 20th Century District portion of the Minneapolis Warehouse District. And I am going to pass this over to Evan Jacobson. He is the applicant for the project, and he's going to explain to you what they would like to build and get your feedback. So Evan should be, he is one of the calling people.
Yes, Evan, if you could press *6.
Great. Thank you, Sheila. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
Great. Good afternoon, Commissioners, Madam Chair. My name is Evan Jacobson with Tushy Montgomery Architects. We have been retained by Todd Simming, who is was the previous developer responsible for the timber condo project. If you remember, that project was a 10-story cross-laminated timber project. Would have been a very exciting addition to the North Loop and Minneapolis built fabric all together. But unfortunately, with the economic situation, partially related to COVID-19, and then some general challenges with pre-selling some of the apartment or some of the condo units, the developer for that project has decided not to move forward with the condo project and engaged my company to help reposition this project as a for-rent market rate apartment building. So most notably, the general character and mass is trying to emulate kind of the character of the previous submittal. Obviously, as you'll note, it came down a little bit, and obviously we had to modify the fenestration pattern and some other programmatic elements just to make it applicable to the product that we are trying to build for Mr. Simming. So Sheila, I believe I had uploaded or sent you a brief 5-page presentation. Is that on the screen? I'm sorry, I can't actually see what you guys are seeing now, so flying a little blind here.
Can you advance to the next slide, please? Thank you.
So if I'm guessing correctly, you are probably looking at a white sheet that says 110 3rd Avenue North on the top, and it says Committee of the Whole and Heritage Preservation Commission with July 9th and July 14th with 2 images. Is that correct?
We are actually on the next slide. They've seen the first one already, so we are on the bird's eye view.
Okay, so you're seeing 2 floor plans with some orange and some blue regions in them?
Correct.
Okay, great. Well, let me first start by saying that, most notably the previous proposal was a 10-story condo project, 66 units, about 4,300 square feet of retail on the first floor with 90 parking stalls and 3 levels below grade. Obviously, we are presenting a much shorter project, 7 stories, more units, 107 units, with actually some more retail square footage, 5,500 square feet, with 76 parking stalls in 2 levels below grade. We have presented the project in its new form to both the North Loop Neighborhood Association and the Rock Island Condo Homeowners Association, which is the condo building immediately to the plan west of this site across the Burlington Northern Railway there. They have both offered letters of support. In general, they were favorable of the reduction in height of this project. And actually the added articulation on the backside, the rail corridor side, was viewed as an advantage to specifically the condo owners, and I think in general the North Loop Neighborhood Association as well. So I thought first thing to do, kind of just walk through the changes to the pedestrian realm and the first floor plan. So on the left-hand side of your screen, what you'll see in the orange is the retail that was previously proposed with the condo project. So what you can see is they actually had 5 individual retail spaces kind of broken into 2 segments, kind of Plan South and Plan North. The blue areas then were condo common area entry. That the blue arrow kind of right smack in the middle of the plan, that represented the condo entrance, led you back to some elevators, and then the far left blue kind of shape was some of their fitness center, bike room, some restrooms in there. So blue would be the condo common space, orange would be the retail. And you can see the red arrows would all represent individual retail entrances. So there's 5 of them along 3rd Avenue North there. On the right then, the amended plan, 7 stories, 107 units, actually about 1,000 square feet more retail. And one of the moves that we made on the first floor was just to stack that retail contiguous, so that if there was a potential larger tenant, say a large restaurant or a large retail user, they could actually occupy that full space instead of having the 2 smaller spaces. That said, we're currently envisioning this as 4 retail spaces, each about 1,200 square feet. So that represents those 4 red arrows kind of as you go from Plan South to Plan North. Just because of the slope of the site, we chose to kind of co-locate those entrances. Doesn't actually look like it when you're on site, but per the survey, by the time you get all the way to the corner of 1st and 3rd, there is about 8 or 9 feet of slope change from Plan South to Plan North along 3rd Avenue there. Most of that happening north of the blue arrow that represents our apartment common space. And so obviously with the plan on the right, the apartment common space justified to the north of the plan, that's where we would envision the lobby, the entrance, the leasing center, some fitness activity, but a very, public-oriented uses that would be, high energy activity on the street, well lit, through the course of the day and the night. And then everything in gray behind the retail space is just kind of the service, the guts of the building. So we do have a dedicated move-in corridor and service corridor to service the retail that would have a back entrance to the retail space. Also a back entrance to the elevator to allow for easy move-ins through the apartment building. A couple stairs, obviously, a trash room represented by that solid waste collection point, or the SWCP, and then the bike repair kind of loaded in there as well. Far left of that gray box says garage ramp down. So that would be, actually the garage door would be at that red line between the hatch and then the solid gray region. And then a vehicle would drive down through a garage door, down a ramp, and kind of spiral underneath the building. And that leaves the planned south area with the hatch region on it, the darker gray. That's all kind of a tuck under area. And what that does is that allows us to get, some of the generator, a required loading and move-in space, our 10 by 25 foot area. It gives us a few 5 or 6 surface parking spots that could service that retail. We have a handicap spot there, and then I think 4 additional spaces, and then 1 flex space that could be either our emergency generator or another parking space. Just to provide a little bit of on-grade parking, whether that's business owners or business employees, or whether that's general public or short-term visitor parking for the apartment. I think those are kind of undetermined at this point, but that whole area kind of represents a kind of a tuck under area with the building built above it, and then that's shielded from view on 3rd with that kind of that notched area of retail, kind of conceals that pretty well as you're looking kind of down that alley from 3rd. So it's kind of hidden back there. The last thing that I'll note just on this site plan here, the alley, there's a shared access easement between the 2 property owners to the south, and then Todd Simming and the property owner for this particular parcel. And that shared access easement, you can hardly see it on this plan, but that allows the service and the accessibility to any potential redevelopment on the 310 loft site, as well as the ability to contain all of our service movements, our truck turning radiuses and turning movements in that alley, and keep those out of the public street, i.e. the trash truck will not have to back into 3rd as as a product of that shared access easement, and actually being able to back that trash truck into where it says SWCP on that site plan. Could you go to the next slide, please? So I believe you should be looking at some contextual elevations. So we wanted to incorporate this slide just to kind of show streetscape massing and scale of this project, specifically as it related to the previous timber condo project. So starting with the top image, North 3rd Avenue streetscape massing. This is looking west. The 5-story building on your left is the Colonial Warehouse, North 2nd Street extending over the bridge. And then there's the 1-story and 3-story building that the Lululemon and the Fairgrounds Coffee are in. And then obviously the timber proposal. And then the 5-story building, gray tone on the far right, would be the Paxson apartment building in the background there. The top dashed line, that represents the height of the previous timber project. And then you can just kind of see the relating scale of what was previously proposed and approved to the current proposal. Next image down would be the North 1st Street streetscape massing. Again, this is looking south, so you can see kind of on the west of the proposed development is all the 19th century historic district warehouse buildings, so 2, 3, 4-story buildings, and then kind of right of the proposed development or the larger scale buildings, the Rock Island condos, and some other newer construction projects to the right of the building. The 2 images on the bottom just kind of have a compare and contrast against the previous condo proposal. The highlighted yellow areas being kind of the recessed balconies that were originally proposed in the condo, and then equally the yellow on the proposed 3rd Avenue facade also represent those recessed balconies. If you could go to the next slide, please. So historical influence, just wanted to talk very briefly about, obviously we're in the North Loop Historic Warehouse District, understanding those guidelines and trying to design a project here that, takes into account what was previously submitted and approved, but also, be applicable to the revised program, and also just some of the general design principles outlined in the historic design guidelines. So starting with the 4 images on the right, top left, just a simple rectangular volume. We feel pretty good about kind of keeping with that kind of simple, classic warehouse form. Next image on the right, the defined base body and cap, pretty similar to the previous project, kind of a real strong kind of black base, very similar to the previously approved project. And then the body, kind of vertical ribbonings that kind of extend from that base to the cap. And then, a strong horizontal cap along the top of the building that runs above that window height and introduces the brick that then connects around the entire perimeter. The bottom left image, consistent primary rhythm. So, when we were looking at the body of the building, we do have basically a very regular 27-foot column spacing. And then in between those 2 columns, we have either 1 or 2 additional ribbon. And that's kind of what creates a little bit of a modern take on the historical design principle. But I just wanted to illustrate that we do have that 27-foot kind of consistent profile trumping around the building. And then where that is kind of the exception is right at that gray, kind of gray box outline. And that represents the actual apartment entry, which is highlighted with a canopy at the street level. So that's kind of the one area where that 27-foot primary grid is broken to define that entrance, accented with the canopy. And then the next slide, bottom right, consistent secondary rhythm. So basically everything in this facade is organized on a 4-foot interval. So the windows are all at 4 feet. The brick pilasters are all at 4 feet. The recessed balconies are at 8 feet with a center mullion at 4 feet. So just keeping with that, a very consistent 4-foot approach that then extends all the way down and then creates the mullion pattern in the storefront glass on the base on the first floor, and then also the metal panel jointing pattern on the first floor and basically throughout the entire building. Next slide, please. And so this is the last slide here. I was asked to keep the presentation pretty short, just five slides. So the 2 images on the left, previously entitled Timber Project, and then obviously the 4 images to the right are the proposed revised project in its current form. And with that kind of concludes what I had to show today. I do understand that I believe all of you do have the full COW and HPC submittal that was submitted several weeks ago in the agenda. So I'm not sure if you all have had a chance to review that or not. I know there's a lot more information in that packet, specifically in regards to streetscape, landscaping, access, typical floor plates, rooftop deck, that sort of information. This was just a high-level overview. And before I turn it over, I will just note that we did go to COW last Thursday, Committee of the Whole, and we had generally pretty positive feedback. Erin Hanauer is the planner who's taking it through the Committee of the Whole and the Planning Commission. Sheila is obviously taking it through HPC. Per that meeting, I think that the big comments were there were some questions about the entrance canopies along 3rd. I think the previous proposal had a longer canopy that extended the entire length of 3rd or close to it. One of the challenges there is, as I mentioned, that grade change as we get to the corner of First and Third as we climb up and over that bridge. We have some clearance issues, so if there was a continuous canopy, it might have to be stepped or broken. There were some comments about trying to activate with some solar panels on the roof, which I think, you know, at this point, our developer is open to investigating further. And there were some comments about the desire to see some additional brick detailing. Obviously, with the North Loop, you know, the brick detailing of the classic buildings is something that is, you know, signature, a strong character of the North Loop building. So we're taking a look at some additional effort there, and, you know, understanding that these drawings here are very preliminary, and we wanted to get the feedback from the Planning Commission and the HPC before diving in too deep. Other than that, Sheila, feel free to jump in if I missed anything from our committee of the whole presentation, but those were kind of the big ticket items, were the canopy, solar panels, and seeing some additional brick detailing. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions from the commission, or simply listen to feedback. Hello?
Madam Chair, I believe you're on mute.
I can't get it to do it.
You can be here now, Madam Chair.
Okay, great. The buttons have frozen, so I can't touch them. Thank you, Evan, for the presentation. Commissioners, do you have any questions specifically for the applicant? I think we're all glad that it looks like you're going to be able to pivot and continue with the development of the site. I'm guessing we're all a little sad to see the terracotta go. I know it was like an exciting and new use of that material, but I understand that that was also an expensive material that was contingent on the condo use. And I'm guessing there's a general appreciation that the height has come down so that it better meets our guidelines. I know that that was what a lot of the discussion the first time around had been about. I know personally, looking at it, that I feel like the brick detailing was the one thing that really stood out to me, especially if there could be a little bit more articulation at the cornice with some brick detailing, and potentially around the windows. Although I understand that you're trying to do a more modern interpretation. But I'm curious what commissioners have to say. Commissioner Howard.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with everything you've said, Madam Chair. Obviously, I think this meets our design guidelines as it's currently designed. I'm sad to lose the terracotta and kind of the excitement of that facade, but this facade meets the design guidelines just as well. And actually, I had concerns about the top of the building that we saw last year, and so now we actually have a very defined top that I think does stand out a little better. I do agree with the advice that you've already been given in that we do need a little bit, I think it needs a little more brick detailing, and maybe that is at the top. I'm not sure. It would be nice to see a little bit, but I don't know that it's, you know, a make it or break it type thing. So I congratulate you on pivoting in today's economy, and I hope this works as you continue going forward with your design development.
Thank you, Commissioner Howard. Are there other commissioners who have feedback?
This is Commissioner Sandal. I'll just jump right in. I I would agree that I'd like to see a little more detailing in the brick if that is basically a relief at the top and at kind of what's the joining band between the base, which is the metal panel, and the kind of upper portion of the building. I think either a profile, like something that sticks out a little bit and has a relief to it, or a different color brick or something there to kind of maybe make those stick out a little bit more and stand out would be my recommendation. But I agree with Commissioner Howard that you know, with a more modern interpretation, it might not be necessary. But if we see detail and relief in the brick, I think that's where I would like to see it. Those are my recommendations.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandal. Does anybody else have some thoughts on this? I think you can tell how well this meets the guidelines with the, you know, the fairly positive and limited comments. It's exciting when a project comes forward and it just pretty clearly meets all the guidelines. Well, if there aren't any other comments, I'd just like to thank you, yes, for your continued work on the design, and that we will look forward to seeing this as a certificate of appropriateness in the future, and that I hope you're able to keep moving. I know that things are a little difficult right now.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Madam Chair and Commissioners, for your feedback and your time this evening. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for coming to present.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioner.
Thank you, Sheila. As this is just a discussion item, there's no motion needed, so I guess I will move us along to the announcements portion of our meeting. I'd like to welcome Commissioner Fritz officially back from maternity leave. How are you doing, Commissioner Fritz?
We're good. We got our 2-month shots today, so today was a little rough, but otherwise, you know, good.
Great. Other announcement items. I know we wanted to set a date for the retreat that could work for everybody. Let me pull up the doodle poll we sent out. It looks like July 30th works for everybody. Commissioner Burke, Staff Member Burke, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I do have a few things to discuss today under announcements and new business. First thing, you beat me to the punch. Thank you. Welcome back, Commissioner Fritz. Thank you. Also on the, before I get to retreat dates and then Commissioner Kling's last meeting, just a reminder, I had sent out an email that there is for the Forum Conference in Tacoma, which will be virtual the first week of August, the State Historic Preservation Office has offered us scholarships for city staff and commissioners to attend. But I submitted as sort of a group request, and then they let us know whether or not we've received those scholarships. Forum is put on by the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions. All the information is in the emails I sent you. However, please let me know by July 23rd if you would like to be included in that list that I send to the state as a request for scholarships to attend. I have heard from about half of you so far, so thank you. As for HPC retreat dates, thank you. My apologies for having to reschedule. Just given the way the agenda was shaping up, I was realizing that it was really quite important that every commissioner attend this particular retreat, given some of the topics that we're going to discuss and wanting to have every commissioner on board with some of the things we talk about for this one in particular, so that everybody has a chance to be heard and has a chance to listen. So you're right, July 30th was the winner from the doodle poll. However, as I went to add that to my calendar, I had a little reminder on there that said we are not supposed to have any meetings that day. We have a lot of these, and some of these we sometimes are able to work around given our requirements. This one I'm not so sure, so I have asked our clerk to reach out to the clerks as a whole to determine whether or not we can or cannot meet as a retreat that day. All I have is says no meetings. Sometimes these requirements, as you guys have heard, no evening meetings, no meetings before 6 or after 8. So I also wanted to give you a couple other second option dates. If that one turns out we cannot do that, I have July 21st as most people being able to attend except for Commissioner Johnson. This is not to put you on the spot, Commissioner Johnson.
It also looks like Commissioner Vander Eyck can't attend that.
Oh, okay. That puts us into August for the next available dates. I apologize. I had the next, none of those are on the doodle poll because the forum conference now is going to turn out to be the first week of August. So those dates are essentially null and void. I apologize for the scheduling issues with this. My options are, if July 30th doesn't work, I will let you know, and I guess I'm going to have to, I will send out, as Sheila said, yes, it is one of the most important Muslim holidays. So I will send out another doodle poll some dates in August and see what we can do on garnering everybody for that. I had just sort of as a tentative August 13th, if anybody wanted to check their calendars right now. That's also a board meeting, so Rachel won't be able to be there, or I can send out another doodle poll. So let me rephrase, I can send another doodle poll, or we could possibly look at August 13th. What would you guys like to do?
I know that August 13th personally works for me, and I'm seeing some people in the chat room saying that it works for them. Let's see them come in.
It's a
Might it be
Thursday.
easier to say, does it not work for somebody?
How about that? I think that's a great idea, Commissioner Howard. Who does it not work for? Sounds like no one. So,
yeah, I think August 13th
perfect.
Looks like it works.
All right. I will work to get that set up, and notice Rachel has to staff the Board of Adjustment hearing, and I'll just make sure we don't have any conflicts with that. This won't be a televised meeting. It's just a it will be sent out as a Teams invite, and if the public wants to participate, we work on inviting them to that. So thank you.
Are we thinking 3 to 6 p.m.?
I was thinking that. I think that's what we agreed on for the other retreat dates. Does that still work for everybody?
Or I guess, does 3 to 6 not work for anybody?
Yes, even better. Forgive me. I don't hear anything. If it turns out that it does, just email me. Thank you, everyone. For my last item on this, unless anybody has anything else, this is Commissioner Kling's last meeting. He is off to graduate school in Columbia. Hooray. So Rachel, our clerk, has prepared a resolution, as we do, but I just want to say a few words. Thank you so much for participating on this commission and devoting your time and attention to historic preservation in the city. We appreciate having you and your comments, and I know this is a time commitment for you, so thank you, and I wish you well on your studies, and don't be a stranger, but I will turn it over to our clerk.
All right, resolution of appreciation for Jesse Kling for his dedicated service to the Minneapolis Heritage Preservation Commission. Whereas the Minneapolis Heritage Preservation Commission is the quasi-judicial citizen review panel that provides direction and regulation on preservation business within the city of Minneapolis. And whereas Jesse has served as the mayoral representative on the City of Minneapolis Heritage Preservation Commission since January of 2019 and has participated in over 30 public hearings and in countless deliberations and actions of the commission. And whereas Jesse has helped to shape the preservation of Minneapolis through decisions on properties designated as landmarks, historic districts, and nominations to the National Register of Historic Places. And whereas Jesse has successfully and diligently worked as a volunteer judge at the Preservation Awards. And whereas the Minneapolis Heritage Preservation Commission wishes to formally recognize Jesse's dedicated service to the Minneapolis Heritage Preservation Commission and City. Now therefore be it resolved by the Minneapolis Heritage Preservation Commission and the staff to the Minneapolis Heritage Preservation Commission of the City of Minneapolis that we extend him our best wishes for good health and happiness in all of life's endeavors, trusting that the friendships and understanding built in our mutual undertakings will be with us always. Approved today, July 14th of 2020. Thank you, Jesse. I'll get you a formal signed and printed copy just as soon as I can see people for signatures.
Thank you, Rachel. And thank you, Jesse. I know we're all going to miss you, and I wish we could throw you a going away party, which is our tradition, but considering the current circumstances, we'll have to call this a virtual party. Yes, Jesse, if you would like to say some words.
Yes, thank you so much for all of your kind words. I just want to say that I'm so thankful for this experience that I've had serving with you all on the HPC. I can't tell you how much I've learned about historic preservation and all of its nuances, and these are definitely all experiences that I will forever take with me in my career in historic preservation. And so I just have so much gratitude for all of you and for being able to be a part of this decision-making body. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. I'm wondering if anybody else has announcements, comments, anything?
Forgive me, Madam Chair, I just had one more thing to mention. This is Andrea Burke. Just a reminder that there is joint, we have resumed Committee of the Whole again, and there is our next joint Committee of the Whole between HPC and CPC on July 23rd. And we do anticipate one agenda item that will be pertinent to both commissions. So,
and will that,
no further comments from staff.
Will that take place in the same sort of Teams format? There'll just be a lot more of us?
Correct.
Okay. Any other announcements? Well, seeing none, we've completed all items on the agenda for this meeting. So if there are no other items and without objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. The next regular meeting of the HPC is July 28th, 2020. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.